On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about a movie. For the first time that we actually are supposed to be talking about a movie.
Because we've talked about movies before.
Yeah. It's called Lords of Chaos, and it's a movie.
It's a movie.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Medalist podcast. I'm Kayle.
I'm OJ.
And like I said, today we're going to be talking about Lords of Chaos, the 2018/2019 film from, I believe, Swedish director Jonas Åkerlund.
Is he Swedish? I think so, yeah.
I think he's Swedish. Should have looked it up. Oh, well. most of this is going to be us talking about the movie rather than the production of it. So.
Or even the book. My neighbor said he has the book.
The book.
On my way out the door tonight, he said...
As I understand, because, the name Lords of Chaos comes from a book, and I suppose this movie is technically based on the book, but as I understand, the book is more or less conducted as much more of a documentary style thing of like interviews and stuff. That's what I understand. I'm not entirely certain if that's the reality of it.
This movie is not.
This movie is not a documentary. I wouldn't even really call it a dramatization of a documentary. we will get more into it in a bit. Some things that happened in the last week. I mean, had my birthday. On Friday, and sat down, watched a lot of Lord of the Rings, had a good time.
Sweet. With all your friends?
With all my friends. My good friend, Mr. Bushmills. And my friends Sam and Frodo and Merry and Pippin and Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli and Boromir and Gandalf. They're real, damn it. They're real. With honorable mentions to Faramir and Theoden.
And Boromir.
Well, I said Boromir.
Wait, did you say Boromir?
I named the whole fellowship.
That's
but got to mention Faramir and Gollum, and he's not really a friend. He's just a weird one that shows up, you know?
Right.
And Theoden.
Did you mention Gimli? He's part of it.
I mentioned Gimli.
You did mention Gimli.
Éomer, Éowyn. What are other side characters? I guess Galadriel.
Sure.
She showed up. Just stunned everybody.
And she was very stunning.
She was, very, but a little creepy, if I'm being honest. But then we were stunned once again and not creeped out when Arwen showed up.
Sure.
So, but she was only there for a little bit. She just was visiting her boyfriend and then left. It was a great time. It was a great party.
It was. I'm glad everybody showed up.
It was a fellowship, one might say.
It was, yeah.
But I was also a big boy this week. I finally went and filed my taxes.
Yeah.
Chucked some money at H&R Block. I don't entirely know if I needed to chuck money at H&R Block, but I'm glad that I did at the very least, because once I got there with my pile of things, I kind of felt like, oh yeah, I don't think I would have been able to do this on my own.
So I got it done.
I got it done, and I'm getting money this year. Last year I didn't get money. So yeah, I'm getting about $700 this year.
Well, how much did you make last year?
Less.
Less. Much less. I
don't know exactly how much I made last year. I can't remember. But this year was more.
Well, good.
Somewhere around twice as much, I think.
Nice.
I don't know. But
in the hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, in the hundreds of dollars.
Soon you'll be a multi-hundredaire.
Yes, indeed I will. But I got that done, and I'm just glad that I paid someone who is a professional to do it, who had a big computer program, and he was just typing away. He was typing up a storm, and just every form, he was like, boom, type, and just got shit done super quick.
Nice.
And I could have gone down to the college for free, but I don't know if they would have had all of that stuff, all of that fancy equipment.
Now, that was just being done by students.
I think so, it's kind of it reminds me of the Kyle Kinane joke where it's like, if you're going to go have a brain wrangler, lasso the bad thoughts, pay full price. Don't go to the college, psych students.
Sure.
get a professional cowboy.
Go to somebody who already has the degree, already has the lasso.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get yourself a real cowboy.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get yourself the city boy who's staying at the dude ranch for a couple of days. So yeah, I'm happy I did that. It's just another thing that was hanging over my head that for some reason I didn't want to do for the longest time, and I did it, and it was fine. I didn't do it. I paid someone to do it.
Right.
I'm a goddamn adult. I pay other people to do things for me.
Sweet.
It's nice. Other things that happened. Work was fucking insane today.
Oh, it was nuts.
It was completely nuts. Like, this is, I think, one of the most hectic days one of the most hectic normal days.
Since you've been there.
Since I've been there. It, like, as far as, like, there have been other days maybe that were more hectic, but there were big things going on. Like, it was the state fair or something else was happening. We had a big remote or something going on. This was just Friday.
Well, see, what happens is, in our profession, when when Friday coincides with the end of the month,
oh yeah,
then you end up with the sales staff that goes and doesn't have their shit together, and then we have to make calls, and it was really hectic for me. I don't know if you saw me.
Yeah, no, it was. I think everybody had or at least all of the regulars, sales and jocks. All of us had quite a time today.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it's coming through. I think I've got a nice cold beverage here,
which is helping.
That's helping me. But I had to re-record. I had to re-record multiple ads today. But one of them I was doing was for a local truck shop that does lift kits and bed liners. And
what
stuff
we call
like
a
that.
hard sell commercial.
Yeah, a real hard sell, and it's got the word trucks in it, so you know what that means. Shouldn't have done that.
No, that sounded painful. Blood coming back up there.
I did that 4 or 5 times today.
Been there, man.
Been there. Yeah, it's my vocal cords are just shredded right now. Not in the good way either. They're not like, oh yeah, look at these guns.
Look how shredded my guns are.
Look how shredded I am right now. Like no, it's just painful. I really need to get my throat checked out. I don't know how much a healthy throat would have helped with that today, but I haven't had a healthy throat for a while.
That's what she said.
Hey.
Oh boy.
Hey.
Whoa, boo.
But yeah, that was just a pain, and yeah, it was really really hectic, and I had my Fridays are always a little bad for me because I have the whole weekend to log and shows to put in typically. And things to send off, and so yeah, it was that on top of here are all these ads. Redo 2 or 3 of these ads 2 or 3 times throughout the day.
Sure.
It was a time, but I other than my throat hurting, days like that I don't mind too much because I leave work and I'm actually energized.
Sure, because you felt like you accomplished something.
Yeah.
You moved forward. Everything went quickly.
Yeah, like, and it galvanizes you into doing things more efficiently, and there's a tendency, I think, on slow days, which is most days, to just kind of, you get a piece of prod and you kind of sit on it for a while. And like, I'll do this in a little bit.
Sure.
It's like today you get a piece of prod. It's like, all right, boom, in there, done. It's done. I sent it. Boom. 15 minutes have passed.
All right, what's next?
Kinda. So yeah, I don't mind days like that because I come home and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna carry this energy through the rest of my day. I'm gonna get things done in my free time, and I like that.
And now here we are, drinking a beer.
Yeah, here we are drinking some beer, talking about Lords of Chaos. Anything big happen with you this week?
I pulled the motorcycle out of the shed. Yeah. Pulled the motorcycle out of the shed, and then I realized that I had set the battery on a concrete floor all winter, which means it drained all the electricity and made it completely dead, so I had to go buy a new battery.
Yep.
And, so I got a new battery.
Okay.
I did that, and so this weekend I'll be riding.
There we go.
Yeah,
motorcycle is coming on out.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, the weather is changing a little bit. We've had a couple of nicer days than the last I guess week. Every day feels like it hasn't been as nice as it was supposed to be.
Right.
But but it's still been. I can't complain too much because at least it's not snowing. And apparently there's another big system that's going to be slipping through south of us over the weekend or early next week.
But it won't really hit us.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's slip into the south of, I think, the entire state for the most part. So yeah, at least we're not getting that. I can't complain about that. Like, it's hitting Nebraska. Poor fucking Nebraska.
Had a hard winter.
They've had a
hard spring.
Yeah, a really hard spring.
Yeah.
That's just been the last month for Nebraska. They're the last people that need more moisture of any kind.
You don't need to be more moist in Nebraska.
You really don't.
It's very moist down there.
It's sopping.
Oh man, it's dank in Nebraska.
Now dank would be a good thing. You'd want it to be dank.
I suppose it depends on what you're calling dank.
To me, dank only refers to weed.
Okay.
Like, I know it can, like a deep, dank cave or whatever. But to me, dank has only ever referred to weed.
There'll be a funny story. Some stoners go into a cave. Well, I heard it was dank in here.
Well, that's the thing. Is like, if I'm playing D&D and I describe a cave as dank, especially the group that I had, playing for me. If I was the DM.
Yes. Play for me.
Yes, I shall be the NPC. But, the group that I would play with, if I said this cave is, it's dark and dank, they would all go, weed. It wouldn't be quite that stupid sounding. But,
what time is it? Oh,
I bet it's 4:20. No, it's 3:00 in the afternoon.
You play D&D at 3:00 in the afternoon?
Well, actually, around the time for a lot of the times that I gamed with that group, we did start at around 4. So 4:20 would be
a reasonable time to be playing
in
in the dank cave.
It's usually like around 4:00 on Sundays that we would play. But do we want to get into it? Lords of Chaos?
All right. Where do we start?
Well, I think I'm going to start at the beginning and just try and do
That's a very good place to start.
Yeah, I'm just going to try and do a synopsis, and we'll go from there. So,
no, it said it's based on 3 things.
Yes. So we see production logos, right?
Right.
Then it fades to black. Fading up from black, we have scary-looking metal text that reads in order as they appear, based on truth. ... Lies. ... And what actually happened. There might have been another ellipsis after that. I don't remember. ... And that immediately prompts the question: what the fuck is the difference between truth and what actually happened?
I don't know.
It's like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to blow my mind in the first, like, whoa, truth and what actually happened might be different.
There's a difference between those 2 things, man.
Whoa.
Truth and reality don't coincide.
Whoa. Man. So that's sort of the vibe that we went into this movie with.
Yeah.
And then in the first, couple of short scenes there, we are introduced first to the concept that there is a country out there called Norway.
Right, yep.
And Norway is a place that has a king. It's a place that is apparently religious, despite the fact that
it's one of the least religious places on Earth.
Now, and even, I will give the movie some credit.
Yeah.
Is that at the time, and actually up until 2016, Norway did still have a state religion.
Sure.
Which is, not something I think we've ever had in the U.S.
Not a state religion, no.
We've had the most popular religion, but not one where the government says, this is the religion of the state, which was a particular sect of Lutheranism for Norway. And so I will give it that amount of credit because... when you think of countries in Europe that have state religions, not a ton come to mind. Poland might have a state religion of Catholicism.
I didn't know.
I know Poland. Polish people are generally quite Catholic, as I understand. But like Norway, I didn't know that they have a state religion. But even then, like now, I was looking up statistics just because I was like, is Norway really that religious? it's something like only 23% of the total population, somewhere between 23 and 29% of the total population, positively responded to a couple different surveys with when they were asked the question, "Do you believe in God?" Only 23% or more of the population said, "Yes, I do believe there is a God." Everyone else said, "I don't know, maybe, well, I'm kind of spiritual," or "Nah."
Yeah.
And it's like, for a country that's supposedly very religious, that's not a very high percentage.
That's a claim from the movie.
Yeah, and that is a claim from the movie, spoken by our protagonist, who we soon meet, the young Oyston Arseth, or as we are soon introduced to him again, Euronymous, the lead guitarist of his very own band, Mayhem.
Yes.
It's just three young dudes, him and his buddy, called Necro Butcher, whose actual name is I don't think is ever said in the film.
Mom and Dad never named him Necro Butcher.
Yeah, he was not named Necro Butcher, but Necro Butcher is the bassist. There is a drummer who's hanging out with him at first.
Also
What's
never named.
his name? I don't know, but he was blonde, and soon he goes away. Because they wanted a new drummer that could go with them in a new direction they were hoping to head. They wanted to be the next biggest thing, and really the first Norwegian black metal band. And so in an attempt to become this idea of Norwegian black metal that they had, first, very important thing happens. Euronymous dyes his hair black.
Yes.
And
with help from his sister.
Yeah, we get a nice little scene. We had seen his little sister a minute previous when he kicked her out of their basement while they were practicing.
Get the fuck out of here.
Mom, tell her not to come down here. Because that's how Norwegians talk.
Mom, in my Norwegian accent.
That's also the other thing is, I think other than a journalist, far later on in the movie, I don't think there was a singular attempt by any of the actors to even try a Norwegian accent. And
let's mention something here that I didn't notice until you pointed it out, and I should have noticed it right away. We're talking about Rory Culkin here.
Yes, Euronymous is Rory Culkin.
Yeah.
The youngest and perhaps least of the Culkins.
Yeah.
I don't know of anything else that Rory Culkin has done. I know, of course, there's Macaulay Culkin. Then you have
Kieran Culkin.
Kieran Culkin, who is in one of my favorite movies that I've only seen once, which would be Scott Pilgrim versus the World. And then you have Rory, who's in this movie.
Yeah.
Good for you, Rory.
Go Rory.
Go Rory.
Play for me. Yeah.
Play for me, Rory. Play. My play actors on the small screen. Yes. So yeah, Rory Culkin as Euronymous, and other people are in the movie. I think one of the Skarsgård brothers might have been in this. I don't remember who.
You mean as in son of Stellan?
Son of Stellan
Skarsgård. Skarsgård.
Yes. One of the youngest. I think maybe Walter or something. But at any rate, they're trying to become, as I said, he's trying to embody this black metal ideal. So he dyes his long brown hair black in a scene with his little sister, and you watch that scene and you think, oh, she's kind of precocious. She seems like a sweet little girl. I wonder if there'll be a
bonding moment.
Yeah, seems like an important bonding moment. I wonder if there's going to be little bits of characterization where he starts to realize how different he's becoming from his family or something like that. But he's still got this bond with the little sister. Nope, she doesn't appear till the last 5 seconds of the movie.
Sure.
So, they're looking for a lead singer. They want a dynamic front man to be the face of Mayhem.
Now, how do they advertise this? I don't remember how they did it. They put it in papers?
He sent out leaflets, I think. I don't know where to. Maybe to record stores across Scandinavia. That's a possibility. He didn't put it out on the internet because he typed it up on his typewriter.
Right.
And I presume they had stationery. I don't know if that was a thing when they were first starting out, but he had pieces of Mayhem stationery.
That's impressive.
And I'm wondering if that happened in real life. I imagine he drew the logo on it himself every time.
And then took it down to Kinko's.
Yeah,
and
then
photocopied.
had it photocopied for pieces of stationery. But I presume, they don't explain exactly how, but I presume that he maybe sent it out to like metal record stores across Scandinavia saying, hey, there's this band in Norway called Mayhem. They're looking for a vocalist. And they receive a tape back in the mail from a young Swedish man named, was it Paul? I can't remember his actual name.
Dead. He calls himself Dead.
He calls himself Dead, and his tape is enclosed with a dead rat, a dead mouse.
On a crucifix.
Yes, a dead mouse attached to a crucifix. And in that package with it is a tape. They play the tape of him singing, and they're like, this is the most brutal, heavy shit we've ever heard in our entire lives. We have to get this psychopath. So, Dead comes to Norway and moves in with them in their dilapidated shit house out in the woods.
Out in the woods, and it's just a party house.
It's just a metal party house out in the middle of the woods. There's shots of them partying it up out
sex and beer and breaking windows.
Yes, of their own house too.
Yes.
Breaking the windows on their own house and all of that sort of stuff. And you see that Dead and Euronymous are kind of starting to become friends, despite the fact that Dead is an extremely weird guy. Like, this dude is absolutely obsessed with the morbid.
Yeah, he wants to be dead.
He really does seem to want to be dead. And so he despises cats, apparently.
Yeah, he tricks him out of his little comatose state.
Yeah.
And say, hey, there's a cat outside. Let's go shoot it. And so that introduces us to the shotgun.
The shotgun.
Yeah.
The infamous shotgun. Yeah. An important thing about this scene is when Euronymous enters in to this room where Dead is sleeping, Dead's room, there is already a dead cat hanging from the ceiling because he hates cats that much. And as I said, he's a fucking psychopath. So Euronymous grabs a shotgun and says, hey, there's this cat outside. Let's go shoot that fucker. And Dead's like, all right. We'll go do that, because I think Dead had Dead been cutting his wrists or something.
He'd been cutting them. He's a cutter. I mean, he cut himself on stage a lot.
Yeah, that's something we're introduced to afterwards. I think when they do what I knew before we watched the movie was actually a part of the film used in a recent Metallica music video. So Dead and Dead and Euronymous go out into the woods to shoot this cat. They don't, I believe, end up shooting the cat.
No.
I don't think they find it. But there's an extremely tense moment where Dead grabs the shotgun in Euronymous' hand and puts the muzzle on his forehead and says, do it, man. And he's just like completely calm, just like, hey, man, just blow my brains out. I don't mind. I'm dead. And Euronymous almost does it, but then he doesn't. And so Dead, his influence on Mayhem is clear, and they develop this pure fucking evil sound, just the most evil, frightening black metal that anyone had ever heard at that point, and Norwegian black metal starts to take off. But as soon as it does, tragedy strikes. When Dead does precisely what he always wanted to do.
And it's a great scene, too.
It's a horrifying scene.
Horrifying.
The blood special effects are quite unsettling. Dead begins to... He slits both of his wrists.
Yeah, all the way down, lengthwise.
All the way down. Then he slits his own throat. And then after that apparently wasn't working well enough. He decides he's going to shoot himself in the head with the shotgun.
But he writes a note first.
He does write a note. Yeah. Infamous, if you know the history of Mayhem. The note says, what is it? Sorry about all the blood? Or something like that.
Let the party begin.
Yeah, sorry about the blood. Let the party begin. And Euronymous is, I believe, at his parents' house. He comes back.
In the Volvo.
In his dad's Volvo. He comes back. Parks in their yard, and he walks in, tries to find where Dead's at, goes into Dead's room, sees what has happened.
He's blown his head. The top of his head is missing.
The top of his head is indeed missing. What does Euronymous do? Is he frightened? Is he scared? I guess we'll find out later, because all we see is him walk back out of the room, get in his dad's Volvo, drive to a store to get a Polaroid camera, and then come back to a disposable camera. Yeah. That's right. It wasn't a Polaroid. He comes back and he starts to take pictures. And then he calls his bandmates and tells them what has happened. And they meet out in the yard, and Euronymous starts saying a bunch of weird, fucked up shit. Like, hey, I've got these pieces of his skull. These are necklaces that every member of Mayhem is going to wear from now on. Oh, we can even tell people I ate bits of his brain. Did he eat bits of his brain?
We don't know.
We don't know. Yeah. Necrobutcher also doesn't know this, but decides now's a good time to get the fuck out of Mayhem.
He sees the exit on this one. I'm done.
He saw some pretty big red flags, decided to heed them, and he fucking leaves and is not seen for the rest of the fucking movie.
He gets on a bicycle and just leaves.
He gets on because apparently Hellhammer, who's their new drummer, who is in the rest of the movie, Hellhammer apparently owns the van that they drove there, but there was a bike. So he gets on his bicycle and leaves their estate. Their estate. So Mayhem as a band has officially kind of ceased to be. Mayhem as an entity is still around, but they only have 2 members. They only have a drummer and a guitarist. It's a little hard to do live shows with just that, and they didn't really seem to be all that interested in doing live shows in the first place, because that's not true cult Norwegian black metal.
No.
You don't do live shows, and you don't do tours, as we find out later.
Tours are for posers.
So, Euronymous decides it's time for him to start his own record store, so he can sell all of the Norwegian black metal and just evil-sounding satanic metal that he thinks is what metal should be.
Like you do.
He's gonna start this and promote it. He starts his own record label. And who should... I forgot to mention an important bit. Before Dead killed himself, before Dead became Dead, there is an important figure that they meet after the live show.
Right, where Dead is squirting blood all over the audience from his arms.
Yes, Dead is slitting his wrists on stage, and they meet an important figure.
Named Christian.
His name is Christian Vikernes. Who could this character be? He seems like a nice boy. He's even got a jacket with a Scorpions patch on it.
Scorpions.
Which Euronymous points out and just says Scorpions. Very condescendingly. Yeah. But that's all he says. Could there have been more dialogue there? I don't know.
Who knows?
Who needs it?
I feel like, if the dialogue seems weird and stilted and odd, that only sort of adds to it for me.
I suppose.
Because these guys weren't what you would call laconic.
Yeah, They
weren't well spoken. They weren't they weren't of that vein, so to speak.
I suppose we can talk more about like how we feel about the characterization and stuff once the synopsis is concluded.
Sure.
So they meet this nice young lad, Christian Vikernes, and then Dead dies. Euronymous starts his own record store called Helvet, which is just Norwegian for hell. Very, very creative and clever. Anyway, so we see a short scene of this young man they met. There's a Scorpions patch in the trash can. What could be happening here? We are then reintroduced during this Helvet period to a young, now Varg Vikernes, who hands a tape over to Euronymous saying, you should put this on your record label. What is it? It's something called Burzum. What could that possibly be? Euronymous decides to give it a listen. And holy shit, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
This is exactly what he's been looking for. Hey, you know that new sound you've been looking for? Listen to this.
way back up in the woods among the evergreens.
So
no, it wasn't Johnny Be Good at all.
It was not Johnny Be Good. It was, in fact, Johnny Be Bad. Johnny Be Very Bad.
Johnny Be Worship Satan.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, God, it's been so long since I'm trying to remember the order. We watched this last Sunday, and we're recording this on Friday. I'm trying to remember the particular order of events. I do know that eventually Varg starts hanging out with them, and they all start a collection of their friends, most of them utterly nameless, including this one fat guy that films them at all their live shows.
Sure.
Who has no name.
We don't know who he is at all.
Them and all their...
the Black Circle.
Yes, they start calling themselves the Black Circle. There's also this pretty blonde girl who takes pictures of them every once in a while. Varg decides he's got to take this whole black metal thing to the next level. He's angry about Norway being so religious, and he decides to take an offhanded comment by Euronymous a little too seriously and burns down a church.
Right.
Varg then immediately tells Euronymous, yeah, that was me. I did that. And suddenly the Black Circle becomes much more sinister.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. A whole bunch more church burnings start happening across Norway, and the Black Circle continues to be more and more sinister. Euronymous starts to get jealous of how much attention Varg has been getting through Burzum and through all of their, from all of their friends who think he's just so cool and
the
so
photographer
metal.
is taking a picture of Varg.
Yes. And an extremely uncomfortable scene happens in the basement of Helvet.
Where it says black metal on the wall.
Where the infamous black metal scrawl is on the wall. They're hanging out in the basement. The photographer is going to take some pictures. And then she wants to leave. And I don't remember what Euronymous was trying to get her to do. But then Varg just demands that she strips.
Yeah, take your fucking clothes off.
And it's so extremely uncomfortable.
Oh, jeez. And she does it. And
it's horrible, it's scummy, and it's extremely uncomfortable. And I hope that didn't actually happen.
I feel like it might have, but...
It might have. Because for all of the things that Varg Vikernes is, I guess I didn't necessarily know him to be a horrible misogynist / I mean, it wasn't rape, but he did force a woman to strip. So sure. I don't know. That's still some sort of sex crime, I'm pretty sure.
Well, he didn't grab a hold of her.
I suppose.
He just verbally...
kind of threatened her.
Yeah.
A little, in a very threatening tone. This short, skinny, pasty white Norwegian kid. So imposing. But, that extremely uncomfortable scene happens. Varg continues to become more popular and is just a sex machine.
Sure.
And so, Euronymous decides that since Varg has begun to eclipse him, it's time for mayhem to come back and really take its place at the throne of Norwegian black metal. Now that Norwegian black metal has been established as a genre, mayhem has to reassert control. And by mayhem, I mean Euronymous.
Yes. And Euronymous gives him a necklace.
He gives him one of the, skull fragment necklaces and names Varg the new bassist of Mayhem. Varg is elated. This was the whole reason he seemed to have started Burzum in the mythology of this movie.
Right.
This is the whole reason he even started Burzum, is he just wanted to be in Mayhem because he thought they were so cool. And so they begin working on a new album. And they bring on some new people. Who are their names? Or what are their names? I don't know. It doesn't
say. We know that Attila was their new vocalist.
Yes, we know Attila is their new vocalist. He's got an interesting story. He's from Hungary. He moved to Norway to be in this band. That had to have been a whole thing. They don't even say his fucking name, and he's been the vocalist, along with Maniac, he's been the vocalist for Mayhem ever since the events that the movie depicts.
Right. And they just briefly show them in studio.
They briefly show them in studio in what might be the only instance of actual Mayhem music, with a short clip from Funeral Fog. Short enough to probably not qualify as copyright infringement.
Right, they didn't have to pay BMI for that.
Yeah. So this album is getting recorded, and things are getting more and more tense between Varg and Euronymous. They decide they should burn a church down together.
Sure.
They go and do it. They have some fun. Somewhere in this whole period, it might have been before or after, but a character who was previously unnamed, and then we found out was Faust from the band Emperor,
right,
murdered a gay dude in a park by stabbing him a lot of times.
Was it 37 times?
37 times, I think. This drummer from a band called Emperor just stabs this gay dude in a park because he was coming on to him and wasn't into that. So you know what you do when someone is... You know what someone does when they proposition you for sex and you don't want to have sex? You murder them. That's what you do. That's what a sane person does.
Right.
And so, similarly to the first church burning, Euronymous kind of takes credit for this murder by saying, "Oh, I told him to do that." Varg does not necessarily like that Euronymous has been trying to take credit, so he decides to go to the press and has a pretty hilarious interview with this very confused reporter from one of Norway's more popular newspapers.
What does he call himself? The captain?
Well, he's Count Brishnak. He's the Count. I don't remember the first part, but that was his weird laughing is also a part of every dramatic scene where he's doing something evil. He's got this evil laugh, which is just silly. But so the reporter looks around the room, sees that there are several Nazi flags. He starts asking Varg some questions, and Varg mentions burning down the churches as being because these spaces once belonged to Odin. And then he mentions, the date of the first church burning was on 666. And so the reporter very funnily says, "So you're a Nazi, you're a pagan, and you're a Satanist. I don't see how these things are connected."
They're connected.
It's basically
his response.
The conversation. And the reporter does not take him seriously until Varg reveals a piece of information that only the person who was at the first church burning would know. And the reporter's like, "All right, cool. I'm going to run this story." Immediately the next day, Varg is arrested. Oddly enough.
Weird. He doesn't know that there's no confidentiality
when it comes to someone who's committed several terrible crimes.
Right. He's not a lawyer or a doctor.
Yeah, he's a fucking reporter.
And even a lawyer would be obligated to report that.
So, or a priest. Very pointedly, not a priest. So Varg is under observation. Euronymous starts getting more and more paranoid, and tension continues to grow between the two of them until finally things begin to come to a head. Euronymous starts revealing himself as being more interested in the fame than the black metal culture, and he decides it's time to cut himself loose from Varg, and it's time to let Varg go off and do his own thing with Burzum, so Mayhem can go on without him and release their album and go on a world tour, which Varg thinks is bullshit.
Right. That's not what true Norwegian black metal does.
Yeah. Norwegian black metal bands don't go on tour.
Here.
Yes. We don't play live shows. Right. And so Euronymous has this conversation with him where he's going to get compensated for the Burzum albums that have been sold. And Euronymous goes to his girlfriend's house to hang out and decides it's time for him to get a haircut. And so she cuts his hair, and he leaves to go... he doesn't leave. She leaves somewhere. Varg decides to go on a drive from Bergen to Oslo, with his really dumb buddy, who is not named as well.
Also unnamed.
Also unnamed throughout the entire movie. And he drives all the way to Oslo.
They stop, by the way, to rent a movie as part of what appears to be an alibi.
An alibi for their night. They rent Die Hard 2, and Varg says, If anyone asks what happened tonight, you'll say we were watching Die Hard 2. Have you seen it? And his buddy says yes. And Varg does not question that. Varg also tries to hide at the gas station because he's worried about being recognized. Mm-hmm. He arrives in Oslo and storms up to Euronymous' apartment and confronts him. Euronymous, recently with his new haircut and his new look, and he's wearing a nice button-up shirt, looks like a complete poser, which angers Varg even further. And so
now,
Varg...
mind you, at some point, the dumb buddy had overheard another buddy saying that Euronymous was going to tase Varg and then tie him up and torture him to death.
Yes, that is precisely why he went there. Thank you for reminding me of that, because it has been almost a week since we watched this movie. So yeah, his buddy had overheard after Varg went to the press. Euronymous was so displeased with this that he said, I'm going to tase this stupid son of a bitch and tie him up and make a snuff film out of his murder.
Right.
It was just bluff.
Sure,
Varg
was
takes
angry.
it seriously because Varg is a psychopath.
Right.
Much like Dead. Except instead of being suicidal, he's homicidal. So, yeah, you know where this scene is probably going if you know anything about Mayhem. Varg pulls out a knife and starts stabbing the shit out of Euronymous in a very prolonged scene. He stabs him a couple of times and then decides, you know what, I'm thirsty. Let's make some chocolate milk.
He does. He makes an oh boy.
Boy.
Makes an oh boy chocolate milk.
As in, oh boy, that's a lot of blood. Oisten. That's a lot of blood. And so the stabbing continues. Oisten, also known as Euronymous, breaks out of his apartment and tries knocking on one of his neighbor's door, saying, help, he's murdering me. The door opens briefly before Varg slams it shut again, and the murder continues in the stairwell. Before Varg is done, he's stabbed him probably like way more times than he did in real life, I think, including the last one in the head.
Right, and that was a good special effect with the blood and brains and stuff coming out of the head.
That was a pretty good special effect. And we've reached more or less the end of the movie. Euronymous starts to narrate again. These are the things I did. I made Norwegian black metal. Blah, 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 blah. And we see his sister looking out the window in like the last 5 seconds of the movie. I had almost forgotten she existed. We find out that Varg is arrested pretty much immediately afterwards.
So is Faust.
Faust is arrested because Varg rats him out for the murder of the gay guy. And this all happens because his dumb-ass buddy had not seen Die Hard 2.
So what happens in Die Hard 2? Guy tries not to die.
Hard. So yeah, that's pretty much the movie. It's an abridged version of Mayhem's early history with so much missing, I feel.
There's a bunch missing. I think they summarized.
They really summarized it, and the part of the thing that bothered me is instead of making it about the band, like say your typical rockumentary type thing, or even if we can draw comparisons to Bohemian Rhapsody, which is a movie I've not seen. I know
I enjoyed. I enjoyed the movie.
But like that is mostly about Freddie, but there's also a lot about the band, right?
There's a lot about the band, a lot about the music.
And there's not really a lot of that in Lords of Chaos.
There's not.
It's almost entirely about, at first, Euronymous' relationship with Dead, and then Euronymous' relationship with Varg. And there's also his relationship with his girlfriend, who I don't think has a name as well.
Right.
There are so many characters in this movie
unnamed
that don't have names, and then you read the credits and you're like, oh, that's who that's supposed to be. Like all of these characters that were in big bands in the early Norwegian black metal scene, some of whom are still around, are completely unnamed. There's not even a little narration blurb of, hey, this is so-and-so. He founded this band. They're really cool. None of that. There were many opportunities. We didn't learn Faust's name until Euronymous said, wow, Faust killed that guy?
Oh, that was Faust.
We didn't even know this guy's name, and we just followed him for 10 minutes as he committed a brutal murder in a park. That's like that's the biggest my biggest problem with the movie is it seems to have no idea what kind of movie it wants to be.
No, it's not a rock and roll movie, not really.
Yeah, it doesn't know if it wants to be a rock and roll movie. It doesn't know if it wants to be a true crime like horror film. It doesn't know if it wants to be at times like a weird, character drama. It has no idea what it fits into. It's all over tonally. It's all over as far as the genres. The acting is not great, I think.
No, well, I mean, there are no Norwegian accents.
Yeah. Even without the extra challenge of Norwegian accents, I don't feel like... I can't tell if the acting... I might retract my statement about the acting not being great because I can't tell if the acting is great or terrible because I don't know what they're going for.
Sure.
I don't know if they're trying to make these characters look like doofuses or if the way they're playing them makes them look like doofuses.
Man, God, it's hard to say.
Because the tone's so all over the place. Like, there was a lot of points where we laughed really hard at shit that happened. And I'm not sure
supposed to be funny.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's supposed to be funny. And that's usually the mark of maybe not a bad movie or a terrible movie, but at the very least a movie that is not accomplishing what it set out to do, which in a way makes it a failure of some kind. So yeah, I guess your overall thoughts, like how, like, I know this movie has kind of stuck with both of us for a while.
And, you said earlier that maybe it stuck with us because we were planning on doing the podcast.
Yeah.
But I think it may have actually stuck with me because there was something about it that left a taste.
It was so graphic.
Yeah, it was very graphic. It was very... And in a way, it reminded me... This is going to sound terrible. It reminded me of a lot of my friendships.
Really?
in younger times. Like being... But I was not... I was like the person on the outside of the black circle.
You were just one of the Helvet regulars.
Yeah, I was one of the Helvet regulars.
You knew everybody by name, and you hung out with them every once in a while.
And we had a black circle when I was in my early 20s.
Really?
But we weren't murderous and
yeah,
and weren't Satan worshippers. And
I mean, you had an opportunity to burn down a stave church.
Sure, we did. We never did.
Every day was an opportunity. Every day that there was a black circle in Minot
was an opportunity. We have a stave church.
We have a genuine Norwegian stave church.
Yeah.
There was many an opportunity.
But no,
you could have done it any day.
No, we sat around and smoked pot and listened to metal.
Yeah.
But we were cool with people. Oh, is this a person a poser? No, we would never have said that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like these guys, and this is, I genuinely believe, is not just the movie. I genuinely believe that these people in real life were so far up their own asses that they could smell their own throats. Like, good God.
They were so far up their own asses they could smell the blood in their own throat.
Yeah. It's just insufferable. Almost all of the characters are utterly insufferable. Like the comment, and it's a genuine thing that Euronymous, said and believed, is he had a real distaste for Swedish death metal.
Sure.
And claimed that Swedish death metal was just all about having fun and drinking beer and celebrating life.
It might as well be called life metal, he said.
That's an actual line in the movie, and it pisses me off so much. It's just so contrarian and so fucking dumb, and I just... It sums up so much of how I feel about this movie. Sums up a lot of how I feel about like the really deep black metal community.
Sure,
like you're the stereotypical black metal fan that's so deep into it that they've kind of just lost it. I feel the same way about this movie that I feel about them, and that maybe that's success.
That's what they were going for.
Maybe that's a mark of success on the part of the film, because it felt genuine enough to me that I had that reaction. But that also means, at the end of the day, it is not a movie that I want to watch again.
No.
I gave them money. I gave $5. I gave Amazon $5. I don't know how much went to the production companies and whatnot. But I rented it, so I guess I'm the fool. I've spent $5 on worse experiences. I'll say
certainly.
that. It's I think for $5 and for 2 hours, it was a little long. That's the
what
other
she
thing.
said. Anyway, okay.
It was a little long.
Yeah.
And still, we came out of it feeling like there should have been more content.
Right.
There should have been more content put into the same or less length. And I feel like that could have been done.
Yeah. It's a good story.
It's a legendary story.
Yeah.
There's a reason why, like, any podcast that has anything to do with metal has probably had a Mayhem episode where they talk about Mayhem.
Sure.
Is because it's an extremely fascinating story. There are a ton of other actual documentaries that have been made about the early history of the black metal scene.
Mm-hmm.
And probably any of those are more worthwhile than Lords of Chaos, I think. I don't know. I feel really negatively about this movie. How do you feel?
It's schlocky
genuinely?
Entertainment. It's what it was made to be, schlocky entertainment.
I agree with that.
It wasn't necessarily meant to be something that informs you of the history of what's going on. It was, we're going to take this story that already exists and, oh, hey, look, we can use this to make a movie.
I suppose, yeah.
They weren't necessarily trying to inform or educate or enrich anything. They were just making a movie.
I suppose. My problem is, it's not what they were trying to do, but should they have been trying to do that?
Yeah.
Should they have been trying to treat the story with, I guess, more respect? It's weird to say that because these are terrible people.
They're all terrible people.
These are terrible people. Varg is a horrible person.
Yeah.
Faust is a horrible person. Euronymous seemed like an insufferable dick and was
that was
probably
one of the first scenes in the movie. You kind of skipped over that. Was when they were practicing and they stopped and one thing that the Euronymous said was, cut him, and he threw him a knife.
Oh yeah,
he wanted the drummer to cut the bass player.
Or no, he wanted the bass player to cut the drummer because the drummer didn't fit in because it was just this this blonde guy with kind of shorter hair just playing the drums who was obviously not really into the whole most of the black metal shtick.
Sure.
So yeah, it's starting to get dark.
Yeah, it is.
We had nice natural light when we had started, and now it's fading because I didn't have the room light on. But getting dark and spooky.
It's getting dark. It's getting black.
It's getting black, man. But yeah, it was just. I will applaud the blood and the gore.
The blood and the gore was done very well.
It was very well done. There were some more interesting dream sequences, and I think that is sort of, especially as a music video director. That's what most of Jonas Ackerland's filmography is music videos.
Right.
I think that's the type of scene that he is most well equipped to execute, and the sort of the dream sequences that happen were well done. Every time one of those happened, though, because it was always about dead. All of the dreams that Euronymous has are about dead, and just sort of the way
naked at one point.
Yeah. And because of that, and the way that they look at each other constantly, and just the fact that they're two effeminate-looking white boys, it's like these two are so gay for each other. They're so gay for each other, and I don't want that to sound like any kind of mean joke.
No.
About gay people. I have absolutely no problem with gay people, but man. Some gay stuff, very homoerotic stuff in this movie is how I felt. It is, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
it's just I kind of wish the movie acknowledged that. I don't know if they realized when they were filming those scenes how homoerotic it felt.
They probably did. They probably got that.
Ironically, the director of Top Gun had no idea when they filmed
the beach volleyball
scene. They had no idea. That was the gayest thing ever put to film.
Here we're gonna do the manliest scene ever made. No, you're not.
No, the manliest scene ever made is the handshake in Predator. The mid-air arm wrestling contest. That's the manliest thing ever put to film.
Not the volleyball scene in Top Gun.
Not the volleyball scene. It depends on your definition of masculinity.
Let's put a bunch of greased up dudes together. Yeah, and have them sport.
A bunch of greased up dudes with porn stashes. Because it's the Air Force. You gots to have yourself a porn stash. Oh, it was the Navy. That's right.
It was the Navy.
I forgot. Yeah, especially since they're in the fucking Navy.
In the Navy. Yeah, all right.
All right.
Right.
I think we're definitely about there, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, that was, I guess, our thoughts on Lords of Chaos. I thought I was going to be a bit more put together with my synopsis. I'm going to have to do some wacky editing in there, I think, to make myself sound at all
erudite. I don't know. Put together.
Eloquent.
Eloquent.
I'm just. We had a day, man.
It was a long damn day.
It was a long day. I'm glad it's over. I'm glad we've got some beer. So let's put a bow on this.
All right.
If you enjoy this sort of content, we're going to be back next week talking about music once again.
Mm-hmm. Whose week is it?
Technically, it'll be mine.
Okay.
If we go by the back and forth.
By the back and forth.
This week would have been your week, but we decided to do a movie,
which is fine.
So next week will be me. So I think I'm going to bring a. All right, I'm gonna grab a dice because I can't decide between two albums.
Okay. Because I have an album, but. Oh, he's gonna grab one of the. Oh, that's cool. He's gonna grab one of the dice I got him for his birthday.
So.
Evens and odd.
So evens is going to be Idle by Horrendous.
Okay.
Odd is going to be When a Shadow is Forced into the Light by Swallow the Sun.
Okay.
That is an even. So
Horrendous.
Idle by Horrendous.
Okay. So give that a listen.
It's a great
give it a spin.
Progressive death metal album from late last year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Sometime last year anyway. And we will talk about that next week. I'm really excited about it.
Right on. If you like our podcast,
check us out on social media. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We have an Instagram account. I actually posted a picture of my dice that you got.
You did.
So
I liked it.
You liked it.
Yeah.
I'm glad you liked it. You also physically liked it.
Yeah, also actually physically liked it. Yeah, that's what I meant.
So, yeah, you can check us out on those platforms and share this content with your friends if you think they should also listen to it. If you don't, that's fine. We don't mind.
Whatever.
So I'm going to finally stop talking, give my horrible, horrible, ragged voice a rest.
Okay.
I've been Kayle Borner.
I'm OJ Bennett.
This has been the Bronze Medalist Podcast. Congratulations. Okay. God, it's pain.
Nice cool beer will help.
Oh, yeah. Well, the cool beer and then the cough drop I just had, that was an Arctic blast in my throat just now. Okay.
That's what she said.
Hey. Why was it cold?
Well, you know.
You sucking off a vampire?